I got 6 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any amendments to the agenda? I don't believe so. To adopt the agenda, a motion to adopt the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Review the minutes from January 7th, 2021. Regular meeting minutes.
There is a correction. We have Mayor Hamel on streets, and it should be council member Brady on the mayor's appointment. I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 7th as amended.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Accounts payable. Horvath.
All right. Well, let's start off with 75490. And that was for the inspection services, the payment of $41,488.26. At 75502, the Applied Concepts, that was for the new radar in the amount of $3,080. 75508, that was the CETA in the amount of $7,252.92. And then we have the final payment for the cover bridge, 75519 to Knutson in the amount of $17,114. And then we have our first big bond payment to the Northland Trust Services, 75527 in the amount of $152,248.75, bringing the grand total to $283,535.37. So a motion to approve that amount.
Any further discussion?
I have a question. So the inspection fees, those are what people pay all year long, and we just pay at the end?
Quarterly.
Oh, quarterly. Perfect, okay. Thank you. So it's basically a pass-through, correct? Thank you. I'm
All in
good.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Public comments. Individuals may address the city council about any item concerned. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 5 minutes. Per COVID, we're trying to eliminate them here at the council chambers. Brian, do you have anything?
Yep, we had one public comment that we received a letter requesting to dismiss an administrative fine issued for a noise violation. We're in the process of gathering information. It'll be an agenda item as an administrative hearing at the first meeting in February. We'll contact the individuals to let them know that we're going to have them on the agenda at that time. Don't want to pass along any more information until we gather more information. So it'll be coming back next month.
Kim, you get anything? Okay, number 6, public hearings, meetings, none. Unfinished business, none. New business, 8, water sewer shut-off discussion. Kim?
I'll move to the thing here. Last year, when the pandemic started, the council voted to waive penalty fees, and shut-offs, of course, are being waived. We did certify a much larger amount to taxes this year for delinquent water bills. And now that we've certified those, now we're hitting the next group that they're already delayed. So we were doing some brainstorming on how we could handle this, because the biggest thing is, it isn't even the money, it's that these property owners and renters get so far behind they can't dig themselves out. And if they have a bad month, they could end up being $1,500. By the end of the year, they could be $1,500 in their water bill, which is a pretty insurmountable task. So we checked with the league, and we can't shut off, which we wanted to make sure we could or couldn't do that. So what we were asking for your, I guess, blessing or direction, what we were thinking as staff for right now is that we would start some communication with these property owners, a little bit more than just getting a shut off notice. Encouraging them that we have payment plans available. Also, I went through the list of delinquents. There's about 35 that are seriously delinquent. I'm going through them and seeing if any of them are rentals, because some landlords do not pay their water bills. They have the tenants do it. And sometimes they don't know that the tenants are that far behind. A lot of landlords check on them, but some don't. So we're going to try and get into the process of doing that, but we want to start the process so that if we get to that point of shutoffs again, that we have, we use it as a talking point more than anything, to come to the table and talk to us to make payments. We don't want to shut anybody off. But if they do get shut off, it's $100 to get it back on, and they have to pay in full instead of making payments. So we just want you to be aware that we, as a staff, think that we need to start stepping this up a little bit and communicating with them so they don't get so delinquent. We can help them out and help them figure out a plan to pay off this bill over time. Usually we take their balance, divide it by 6, and then add their monthly usage on. So we get it over 6 months. We might have to stretch it out longer now for some people, but we can work with them. So if you're all right with it, we'll start sending out letters to these properties. Okay. All right. And
Money for them?
there are, and there are some, I'm not sure everything that's available, but there are some programs available. So we can direct them to them, or we can direct them to the people who can direct them. I believe Three Rivers has some things.
The water bill, so there is some help out there with Three Rivers.
People that are struggling. Yeah. I don't want them to come up with a $2,000 bill in November, so.
So do we need a motion to, or do you got the direction you need?
I'm fine if you're kind of the direction. All right.
Okay, thanks, Kim. 8B, Resolution 2021-03, Jefferson reimbursement by bonds proceeds. I believe that's Bill and or Brian.
That would be Brian. Yep. Been working with Rebecca to get the bonding going for the Jefferson project. This is the first step. And this resolution just simply states that we will be able to recoup the dollars from the bond proceeds once the bonds are sold. So we want to have this in place now. We anticipate the bond sale probably April timeframe. So between now and April, we're going to incur some cost, not a huge amount. You know, we've got dollars to cover that for now, but we can recoup those dollars with the bond proceeds later. And so that's basically what this resolution is saying, or what this will do for us. So we just ask for approval of the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve 2021-03.
Any further discussion?
Roll call?
That would be, I believe the ordinance was the one I asked for a roll call on. This one does not say roll call on it, but Rebecca prepared this, so this is a typical one that they do. So it's just basically approval by the council. So I think we're okay with a simple motion.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Brian. 8C, Jefferson Professional Services Agreement and Project Schedule. Mr. Angerman.
Good evening, everybody. So this is the next step. So you just passed the funding resolution. So the next step is to consider entering an agreement for the engineering portion of this. New Mayor Hamill and Brian and Mike and I did meet. We did review this. So this is the agreement that would cover the design. This would cover the construction observation and the construction admin. So a couple highlights on here. So this amount was the amount that was submitted in the bonding request. So this agreement is for $750,000, so that is the amount. When you submit the engineering requests, if it's a MnDOT project, you are allowed a percentage up to 22% of the construction costs. So when we reviewed this, we thought that was probably more than we needed. So this is about 15% of the overall construction cost. Based on the schedule, this is anticipated that we'd begin work. Really, the bulk of the work would begin in March, April, and then this would continue all the way through the end of 2022. Not sure, Mayor, if you want me to go into anything specific or questions. A lot of items here. I did have one correction I needed to make. That is, it was brought to my attention here that the standard terms, the fine print at the end that have been reviewed in the past, I submitted, or I attached the Iowa version ones, not the Minnesota version ones. So I will swap that out when I send it over to Brian. So a lot of different items in here. Probably the main item is item number 2, with the assist with the state bonding coordination item. So Brian and myself, Mike, and the DOT, we've kind of worked through in the county who's going to handle which items. So that's really kind of the make sure the coordination parts have all worked out. So I think we have a pretty good handle on how we're going to staff this, administer the project. So I'll pause there because there's a lot of stuff here. If there's anything in particular anybody would like me to go into any more detail on.
Council, any more questions for Bill?
I'm super excited. It's actually going to start this year, right?
Well, the construction won't start until.
I know, but the whole process.
That's my only thought now, Bill. I know we talked about the meeting that we had with Mike and Brian. We're going to talk to Goodhue County because, you know, they had their costs that they were going to charge on the project, but it's kind of doubling up. Have you had that conversation with Goodhue County yet?
No, we are taking the lay low approach.
Okay.
Yeah, we will have to have that conversation at some point because Goodhue County is going to be involved there. They have to be involved in certain portions of it. We are just not sure if there's going to be a fee for those.
Okay.
Those portions.
I know we had talked about that.
Yeah,
I just thought of that now.
And what the mayor is to elaborate is there are administrative charges that can be charged, and our goal is to minimize those. So let's spend as much money on construction as we can. So.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, Mayor, if you want me to highlight any of the schedule as well, or,
I mean, I'm okay if you, but if the council has any questions.
but yeah, if there's any questions on the schedule,
Yeah.
so. Okay.
Motion to approve Jefferson Professional Service Agreement. Second?
Go ahead, Bob.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor.
8D, Drug Mechanism Evaluator DRE Training for Mr. Walrick. Chief?
Yes, so we've submitted a request from the council to send Officer Walrick to DRE school.
Come a little bit closer.
Little closer. And so in your packet, there should be some information from the Minnesota State Patrol, as well as an email that was shared with me from one of the sergeants there to really give me more of a better understanding of what this would all entail and why this would be of value to us. Officer Walrick has requested this in the past. I've just never brought it forward. And as we look toward the future here in this state, drug-related driving offenses are going to become more prevalent, especially if the likelihood of marijuana gets legalized. We're all anticipating that's going to happen. And we see a lot of DUI arrests involving people that are under the influence of drugs and narcotics other than just alcohol. So we've had a lot of DUIs in our community that are drug related. And it's a pretty high percentage when you really look at the overall picture of how many are alcohol related. So we're seeing a large increase in that. And this past New Year's was a great example. We kind of didn't expect a whole lot, seeing that most like bars and stuff weren't open. Yet over that weekend, there was 8 DUI arrests in Zumbrota. And 3 of those arrests were drugs. So this particular type of training makes this person an expert in evaluation, and it's combining medical, physical, as well as, you know, other testing for that particular DRE. And that's one of the things that is very short in this area. There's not enough DREs. So we actually have had this sergeant from the State Patrol reach out to us to see if anyone would be willing to do this. I mean, our 2 of our newest officers went through phlebotomy school because we were shorthanded in order to get to do blood draws. We're seeing a lot of the DUI arrests we're not using a DMT machine, the old breathalyzer and toxalyzer. We're doing blood draws and urine. And so there's more chemical testing being done, and a lot of these type of offenses are being done by a search warrant rather than implied consent. So this is a need that we've definitely seen. We've had people that were phlebotomists for years. Rob Jarrett was a phlebotomist. Michael Derricks was a phlebotomist. And now we have 2 that are in training for phlebotomy. And of course, this training is paid for. It's 3 weeks worth of training. 2 weeks are in Arden Hills. 1 is going to be in Jacksonville, Florida. And the reason why in Jacksonville is they need access to people that are under the influence of narcotics. A lot of people, because they have to show proficiency with so many individuals to prove that they know and understand what they're doing. So Officer Wallerick, I've had 2 people actually inquire about it, one being our newest officer and Officer Wallerick. And certainly Officer Wallerick has the seniority and he has the interest in doing this. He's our TZD coordinator. He's gained quite a lot of grant money for us to be part of that. And I think that it's time that we step forward into this DRE type of training. So, and since it does take a lot of time and it's going out of state, granted, the expense to get there and the stay there, that's all covered by the grant. So the only costs to the city is their time as well as their per diem. So.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions for Chief?
You would be able to cover him while he was gone and.
Yeah, we believe he will be easy to cover just simply because the weeks that he's scheduled, he's only scheduled to actually work 2 shifts during each of those weeks that are going to be affected. So when he returns, he'll still be able to return and then finish his work week. So it's pretty minimal impact as far as getting his shifts covered. Where if it was Officer Ormsby, he works opposite and it's all his long weeks. So then I'd have a lot more to contend with. But I mean, this is thousands and thousands of dollars worth of training that is being given to us. They just need a person that's interested in doing it.
So do we have any other individuals like this in the area, or would just need it?
We do not.
Like county?
No,
Southeast
the county
Minnesota?
does not. They do not have a DRE. From my understanding, Rochester might have a DRE, and we've used that DRE in the past. We do have a part-timer that works here occasionally that is a DRE. He used to be an Olmsted County deputy, and that's where he got his stuff. So, I mean, granted, he's available to us, but he's, he fills in shifts.
So that's my question. So say Officer Curtis pulls somebody over, because I'm assuming you have a skill set that can determine if somebody's on drugs or not, and determines that he needs to pull Officer Wallerick in, and he's not on shift, so he's driving here from home. At what point does the city of Zumbrota start paying for his time to get here, his mileage to get here, to do his job, and then to get home? And also, other departments, is that a fee for service? Is that something that you, like, we borrow their services, so
Right.
it's just kind of
I
a
think for the
joint
most
effort?
part, we would try to find a DRE that's on duty. So whether that be our DRE or Rochester's DRE, that would be the how you would typically do it. So it doesn't cause an expense for anybody if at all possible. So granted, I mean, if you need somebody like, I've done that where we needed a phlebotomist and Mike Dirks is like, yeah, I can do it. He lives in Pine Island.
Right.
So, and he comes here, it takes what,
5 minutes.
half an hour. Granted, it's a 2-hour call out if you call somebody out minimum. But under most circumstances, we would look for somebody that would be on duty in general circumstances. That would mean, you know, just like anything else, we have to take them to be evaluated. So that would be that only caveat. And the same if they utilize our DRE. They would come and they'd bring them here to be evaluated.
But we've also talked too is next year at this time, if Ormsby's still interested, we would send him if it's approved. Just because it's more people we have, it's,
Well, somebody else is going to pay for extensive training.
yeah.
Why would we pass that up?
The most expensive trainings that, as far as value,
I think they should also.
I agree. What I really think should happen in.
Oh, you haven't been to Jacksonville. Hold on.
Yeah, no,
I'm telling you,
not necessarily there. It could be LA next year.
Well, don't go there.
What, I know that with the likelihood of marijuana being legalized in this state, they're going to have to start looking at that and how to do, you know, evaluations, because not everybody can go to DRE school. It's a lot involved. So they're going to have to, we're going to have some additional help, you know, to help us get by. And we generally do, don't get me wrong. Where the DRE really comes into play is those times where we've got people under the influence of like pharmaceuticals and stuff like that, or drugs that we don't know exactly what they're on, or they're not cooperative. We don't find evidence of what it could be. That's where this particular thing comes in really well. And I think our part-timer, the other Justin, has really proven that when with the 2 arrests he made on New Year's, those are both drug related, and he knew exactly what they were on as well as how long they've been on it. You know, marijuana, for instance, stays in your system for more than a day, whereas other drugs might not.
Well,
So
that's where I can, I would say like the marijuana offenses, while they can cause, you know, adverse effects if they're
Impairment.
behind the wheel,
mhm.
like I'm much less concerned about somebody smoking pot in their backyard than I am that crack show that's going on downtown.
I hear you.
So if you can,
But we've had some really interesting things with drug-related driving offenses. I remember shortly after coming here, Officer Clemenson ended up, well, she didn't have to stop the car because it was already stopped in the middle of the road, and they thought they were still moving. And they were heavily under the influence of cannabis, and they were hallucinating. So they were hallucinating so bad they thought they were still moving. So, I mean, that just kind of gives you an idea of how important these things are going to start coming to be as we look toward what's likely going to happen. And this is a great opportunity, and I think it would be great if we could secure at least one DRE.
Thanks, Chief.
Anything else?
Any more questions?
Well, is everybody high in Jacksonville?
I would say they're on drugs. Not, it's probably not marijuana.
Well, a motion then?
I'll make the motion to approve Officer Justin Walrick for the DRE training.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
8E, ID maker purchase. Mr. Bryan.
Yes, this is something we've been talking about for quite a while. We wanted to wait a little while to purchase one. And so now talking to Kim is the time. We'd like to get the ID maker. You know, we anticipate using it for solicitors for sure. And then requiring them to display their ID as they go to doors, rather than community members having to ask, you know, can you show me your license, your solicitor's license? And also frequently, you know, public works streets, they get into neighborhoods, sometimes people's homes. It would be nice to have them display an ID as well. And we will make them for office staff. So when we open back up, we'll display an ID too. So we're requesting not to exceed $1,800. The quote here is $1,660.63. That should include everything, but I don't want to cut it close because there might be, who knows, a little more on there. This one will kind of be the basic version, one-sided cards at this time. Wasn't anticipating buying the magnetic strip printer yet. That's a $500 add-on, and we can do that at any time. Yep. So, you know, that can come later as we go into other uses, whether we have locked doors or time cards or whatever it might be. But for now, we'd like to start out with this model. So request approval to purchase the ID maker at a price not to exceed $1,800.
General?
Coming out of general fund.
Yeah, it'll be used by all departments, so.
I'll make that motion.
Very good.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Brent. Reports, Mr. Kim, Mrs. Kim.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Ryan is gone. He's back tomorrow, I believe. Mike Olson.
Just to let you know, we had our 6th water main break of the year. That one was up on 2nd and 1st up there. They're pretty scattered all over town, so it kind of tells you how much old mains we got in the street yet. And a lot of them are multiple. We've had multiple breaks in those areas. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Bill.
Brian, were you going to cover the sanitary district meeting, or Tina, that there will be a meeting February 3rd, a special meeting?
Sure, yep. I think we had already set that special meeting at a previous council meeting. But yeah, February 3rd.
Yep, just a reminder on that. Otherwise, I don't have anything additional unless there's any questions.
Yep, and that special meeting, I'll be posting that too at the locations, so.
Matt, you prefer that we're all here?
Yes, yep. Be easiest if we were all in the room here to handle that. You know, it can be remote. It will be, you know, we'll be here. Each council will be in their own spot, their own council chambers. We're going to have a practice meeting on the 29th just to make sure all the technology works for everybody. Our last meeting, I think everybody was remote anyway, and it worked okay. There was a couple of issues with some being able to hear in here. So we'll iron that out, but yes, prefer if everybody could make it in here, that'd be wonderful.
What time was that meeting at?
I knew you were going to say that. I think it was 6 o'clock.
On the 3rd?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill. James Hill.
Nothing tonight, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Matt?
Seems property, I think that order was served on May 11th, member of the household. So we gave them until February 8th, I believe, so the that date comes and goes, and there's nothing getting cleaned up. And I'll work with the chief on getting an affidavit drafted, maybe take some photos, file the docs with court, and get an administrative warrant to allow the city to hire somebody. Whether we wait until spring, I don't know, but we will have something in place. That's all I have.
Thanks, Matt. Chief?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Brian?
Yes, a little bit about the garbage, the changing garbage haulers. GFL has begun delivering new garbage cans. You're going to start seeing black cans with bright green lids all over town. And on a note, Waste Management Advanced is going to pick up on one last time on Monday, February 1st. They're going to pick up both cans, both the garbage and recycling for the entire town on February 1st. So leave both cans out by the curb. They've got a third party coming in, so they'll pick up all the garbage and the recycling, and then there's a third party coming in to pick up the carts themselves. And they're going to stage those carts out by the water tower just for speed, so they can just get them out of people's lawns and stage them. Then they'll load up a truck. But yeah, so to repeat, Advanced and Waste Management will pick up one last time on February 1st. Leave both cans by the curb until they disappear. So don't put any garbage in your GFL cans until after the 1st.
I was under the impression that GFL was picking up on the 1st.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, I just had another conversation with Waste Management and Advanced this morning on the recycling, and they will be picking up on the 1st. All the garbage in the cans will be under the previous contract, so they agreed to do that. So that was good. The other thing I had is we had talked about setting up a work session for their project list, and not quite ready to ask for that yet, but I anticipate I'll be asking council to set up a work session for the February 19th meeting. We'll visit that at the next council meeting, and just we have a little more work to do before we're to that point yet. Larry has ordered new city logo decals for all the vehicles. So shortly we'll have all of our city vehicles and equipment with the new logo on it. Rather than, I think we've got a couple of old logos running around out there, maybe 2 versions ago. So we're going to formalize everything shortly. And then I've got Bob, Sarah, and Todd signed up for the League of Minnesota Elected Leaders Conference. So don't forget to put all those on your calendar. That's a number of different sessions. And so that's it. That's all I had.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brian. I have one thing. I met with Angie Craig on Tuesday, the 12th. It was more of a meet and greet. I met with her about 45 minutes and one of her assistants, Morris. Basically, we talked about infrastructure a little bit. We talked about COVID, what we can do to help small businesses. She really loved our downtown and the thriving, so she was really looking forward to see what she can do to help there. And then we talked about a little bit of the funding on the Pioneer Trail, but it was just nice to talk to her. Kind of, I mean, she cares about Zumbrota, and I could really see that over other cities. I mean, she really liked the downtown. So that's all I got. Council Durham. Council Hostage.
No, I'm glad it's all. Right? Chained it up on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been going left to right for 10 years. So we did have the annual fire board meeting this week, was on Tuesday. Went well. We'll have the budget for the next meeting. Some highlights are they did, with the CARES fund and some extra dollars, they were able to get both of the washer and drying units needed. They additionally also received a grant that they had put in for, not knowing they would get it. They'd put in for it for a few years before that. So reaching back out to see if we can utilize those funds to cover some of the install and perhaps part of the purchase that was not CARES grant funded. So that's going well. What else? The new fire truck should be, I was like, oh, wait,
Yeah,
the big
the
one.
big one.
A pretty new shiny truck should be another one. Yeah, we need it. You know, we need to rescue people, Sarah.
I know.
Money's in the bank.
Seems like we just got one.
Money's in the bank. That's how this works.
Yep.
And I think they are having a few issues on a couple of the other trucks, one of the engines and a pumper on something. So you know, kind of like the, you know, water treatment plant, there's always something that needs to be fixed. So that's, I think, all I have. Townships agreed 3% increase again to the budget, and then where we're at. So it's good meeting. Anything I missed?
Council Horvath.
I have nothing this week.
Council Creed.
I was just going to add to what Tina talked about with the CARES Act and that grant that we did get awarded.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause you
I am going to get in touch with the fire marshal, I believe it's Neil Passel, on the administrator on that grant to see exactly what we can and cannot do with those dollars and see what we can get or not use and get back.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bob. Nothing else? Meeting's adjourned.
Thanks, Ed.